Just as the video title suggests, this is my top 10 list of the best NC weapons. And please remember that I will be judging only Empire specific weapons. Even if other factions have basically the same thing, I still count the weapon even if it only has different sound and look. While judging these weapons, I took in consideration their versatility, price, efficiency, as well as general opinion. So anyways, let's begin. Number 10. NC infiltrators are rather lucky to have this weapon, while rest of the factions have to spend certs to get it. Yes, the bolt driver is one of the best weapons for NC because it costs nothing for the player, so it's noob friendly, and it has ability to kill enemy with one shot in 250-meter range. See, as an experienced sniper, I can tell you that if you have one hit kill sniper, any one of them, you don't really need the others, because all of them do pretty much the same thing, and the differences at the end are very minimal. And with the training you can learn to use any one of them efficiently enough. Sure, you say Longshot has better stats, so it's better. Well yes, but not by much. You will use the same tricks and methods with Bolt Driver as with Longshot. So if you have already one of them for free, you don't really need to waste more certs on slightly altered version, especially if that version costs 1000 certs. Oh, and I did consider Railjack for this spot just because it looks awesome and has something unique about it, but for obvious reasons I went with Bolt Driver. Number 9. Although each faction has this armor and infantry farming tool, they have some difference. Wall pods, rocket pods, whatever the name is, you know what I mean. This basically is a must-have for new and old pilots, because essentially this is all-purpose weapon. Even though they have been balanced into the ground, they are still fairly good at suppressing ground troops as well as air. And even some call it a all-purpose cert shovel. You can't go wrong by spending certs on it. Well, maybe upgrading needs a guiding hand, but otherwise with them you can even learn to fly. Number 8. While playing Vanu, I was rather disappointed how our equivalent of this item was so easy to spot. Still, I could take solace in the fact that we could throw it further than other factions. Here I'm referring to bouncy Betties, or proxy mines. Essentially they are the same. Betties are harder to spot while proxies are easier to throw. There's that, but what's common is that it's must buy for infiltrator and hell of a fun to use. As a bonus, they aren't that expensive too. So whenever I see a huge crowd, I know there are good times to be had. Even putting them on the terminals are rather fun. Number 7. Here I wanted to place the best assault rifle, but I couldn't decide. Even community was split on this question. But after long testing both in VR and the field, I decided to go with A-Tross. Sure, it costs a lot more than the Reaper, but it has the same characteristics and a little bit more attachments. Still, whenever I used A-Tross, I felt that it was sort of easier to control. However, I did look at Gauss's, as it is the most versatile since it has the most attachments. Still, it was missing that little oomph that A-Tross has. Plus, 5 hit kill sounds rather nice, and slow fire rate allows you to be more accurate on longer ranges. Number 6. Much like in previous spot, in this one I wanted to put the best LMG. But which one? Well, first off I looked at the default Gauss saw and compared the rest. Eventually I came down with a list of 3 guns, and from that it was clear which one was the superior one, the EM6. It pretty much has the same or better stats than default, so naturally it could be called an upgrade. And it also costs only 500 instead of 1000, so it's somewhat noob friendly. And because it has rather vast selection of attachments, you can make it into pretty much any type of gun. I have to say that I did consider a lot putting Anchor here too, as it is better choice for closer ranges than EM6, but it costs 1000 certs, so EM6 takes this place. Oh, and the third weapon I had in that list was Gauss Saw S, just because it was cheap. Anyhow, it just seems that general mindset of NC is pretty much the same. So I would say if you're playing NC, try out EM6, it won't fail you. Number 5. A walking AV turret. That is how I would describe a Max with 2 Ravens. Sure, they're not cheap, but worth it. The biggest problem with NC Maxes is that their AV capabilities are limited to certain range. But with Ravens there are basically no more problems. Mouse guided missiles with pretty good damage and good size clip. Makes an excellent suppression weapon against armor. Obviously the biggest drawback, and in fact the only drawback, is the cost. So if you have spare certs and you don't know where to invest them, look no further. Number 4. While playing Vanu, I always wanted this weapon, as it is very powerful. Some overlook this one, but if you utilize everything you have, you'll be glad to have this by your side. Desperado. It strikes me odd that a lot of people don't care about this one. As I tested all pistols a while ago, I created a video comparison. Desperado is one of the top 3 pistols, alongside Repeater and Beamer. It has unique look and it works amazingly well. Oh, and a couple of months ago, Vanu got Spiker. At first it wasn't really much to look at, but now it's buffed and it pretty much resembles Desperado. And you know, almost all Vanu love it. So anyways, there you have it. Desperado, the best NC pistol, deadliest and the easiest to use, no matter which class. And the only problem with this weapon is that it costs 1000 certs. Number 3. I still remember how Mr. Higby presented this weapon, and I loved the concept, yet feared the results because it seemed too powerful. Nowadays, this weapon is well balanced and extremely fun to use. I even considered placing this as number 1. But here we are, Phoenix. Some of you might be shocked, but when you're going solo or not, this weapon offers a precision much like Lancer. But of course it has its own drawbacks. For example, it leaves you standing there just to get sniped, and fire rate is slower than other launchers as you reload only after you exit the remote camera mode. Still, ability to curve your shots and deliver otherwise impossible shots is amazing, and as I stated in the first place, extremely fun. Yes, it costs 1000 certs, so maybe get it after you get necessary items like C4 or good primary. Number 2. When I was choosing a weapon for the first spot, I considered this one a lot, but it simply didn't have the versatility. Still, I think that Enforcer is the best NC tank or harasser secondary you can have. It will shred infantry and armor alike. Yes, you can have something like Canister to deal with infantry better or Volker for anti-air, but Enforcer can do all of that to extent and be very devastating. By the time of writing this, Enforcer has quite a large clip and has to reload everything at once. But on the test server we already have the new version which reloads every single shot as soon as possible. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. And then again, it should be done for everything I say. Anyways, Enforcer is a fantastic weapon to have, and I would definitely recommend getting it for your Vanguard and probably your Harasser too. Number 1. For the first place I was thinking long and hard, but when it came down to it, it sure looked like the best choice. The Cyclone, the SMG that most of you have. Unlike Eredani or Armistice, this SMG is better than its higher clip variant. And yes, I am implying that Hailstorm is better, but that's just for TR. But then, why isn't Blitz here? Mainly one reason: recoil. See, NC's SMGs have this fantastic quality of being almost as silent as Artemis or Nyx, all with suppressors of course. And that is why I particularly love NC's SMGs. In comparison to Blitz, Cyclone has higher damage per second as well as very high damage per bullet. But the reason why Cyclone is here and not Blitz is its recoil. See, while shooting Blitz, it suffers from what I call alcoholic syndrome. It's when recoil is just throwing your gun from one side to another, making you miss quite a lot of shots. Cyclone, on the other hand, has almost no sideways recoil, making it very accurate. So high DPS, almost no sound, and very good accuracy makes this weapon a perfect one for pretty much any class. And I believe that this is the best and most enjoyable weapon to use in the battlefield for NC. And so there's my top 10 list on the best weapons for NC. Now of course I realize that not everyone's list will be the same as mine. So if you have a different one, please send in, I would like to see. Oh, and if you like this list, you can check out my other top 10 lists for Planetside. And of course, feel free to suggest your ideas for the next top 10 I could make.